The suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another week of Stoned Appetit with your host. As always, it's me, Kip, and across the screen from me today is CB. How are you, CB?
Doing well. Yeah, we're meeting virtually. This is the first one-on-one with just Stoned Appetit.
Yeah, man. You know, for our listeners at home, I felt that we needed to do an episode that just kind of gave a breakdown of what's going on around Denver. Obviously, with 420 coming up next week, we didn't need to have a guest to make us partial. We needed to be impartial with what we wanted to do, what we wanted to promote, things along those lines. And we didn't need anybody to tell us or influence our opinions on how we like our products. So we're going to talk all things 420 week this week, Chris, just you and I. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. And then also we'll give a quick rundown for what the episode entails. But before we get started, quick shout out to our friends over at Kyoto Botanicals, the CBD company that's based out of here in Colorado. They've got everything for human needs and for our furry four-legged friends. Whether you have an anxious pup for traveling or a little separation anxiety for when you are gone and he is at home, they've got you covered. If you're a human with anxiety, having trouble restless nights, trying to find some ways to sleep, they have everything from tinctures to gummies and all the happy medium shit in between. So give Kyoto Botanicals a look-see. That's KYOTO botanicals.com. And if you use promo code Stoned Appetit with the little E and the no E at the end, that's APPETIT, Stoned Appetit, you get 20% off your order. So go over there today, check out the whole kit and caboodle, and next week you're going to learn even more about the product when we have the nerds behind the science join us. But until then, we just got the guys today. We're here to talk about a new segment we're going to unveil called If I Were a Stoner. Thankfully, we're neither of us are those. So these are hypotheticals that we would do if, in fact, we did smoke a lot of marijuana and have a little free time on our hands. As well as we'll give you all a little rundown of what's coming up in the coming weeks. We've got food and cannabis guests alike, product releases, as well as job hunting for both boys. So let's get the party started. Chris, how's the week started for you?
Dude, the week is going surprisingly well. Looks like, just when we thought ski season was about to end, looks like we got some heavy snow in the forecast.
How many days of snow did you get skiing did you get this year?
Like 31 days so far.
How many more do you think you got in the tank?
I think we got at least 5.
It's a bold play, Cotton. It's a bold
I'm
play.
going tomorrow. We're supposed to be getting snow. Like, they're supposed to be over around 20 inches through this week.
Okay.
So a few mountains are doing their retro weekends this week. And A Basin, Copper, Winter Park, all those are still popping.
Very nice. Okay. Where are you going to try to ski? What's been the mountain of the year for you?
It's been a toss-up between Winter Park and Copper. They're both so fun.
I like where your head's at. Okay. Well, That sounds like a pretty nice little week you got in stored.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. And, looking for jobs, doing that whole dealio. So we're keeping the grinds or the gears grinding. That's what it is.
Positive vibes only being sent to you in that endeavor and hunt. We're cheering for you. For those that honestly, we were on a hiatus last week, so there was no really Instagram because we've been under the shadow ban recently. So we've been kind of hiding, trying to fly under the radar because we were promoting cannabis. Somehow we pissed off the Instagram mods. And so we just were unable to be searched for. If anybody looked for us online, they couldn't find us. So
I
You
don't
know?
understand how all that works.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, Chris, I don't fucking know either. So I Googled how do you get unshadow banned, which by the way,
Classic.
definitely doesn't fucking do the answers. But if anyone's ever listened to this podcast or seen our Instagram or any of our social media, they understand that we're not some tech savvy wizards over here that are doing anything out of this world creative. So yeah, I got
On uncut. That's how we do it.
the same effort put into it yielded the same results. So while we didn't show any Instagram posts from the last week, dude, I had a killer weekend.
Yeah, you went to a concert.
Yeah, I went to Cervantes. Shout out to a friend of the podcast, Mr. Hardy. That's what we're just going to call him. I don't know if he wants, but anyways. And then we also were able to hit up the OG, that new diner next to the Rocky Stadium, and we were able to get a little party scene vibe going up in the penthouse, and we were able to check that out. So that was gnarly. What does tickle my fancy or wet my whistle uh, is that live music is almost pretty much here, Chris.
I know. Isn't it like, I mean, like, yeah, you can taste it. I mean, as vaccinations roll out, like, I'm feeling super positive about the concert.
Yeah, as both of us being, the hard-hitting journalists we are, we had to get the vaccine so that so if anyone sees us out, don't be shy to come rub elbows with us. We're cleared. We're able to hang out and party. I do have a question for you. Concert of excitement level. What are you most excited about catching this year?
Ah, fuck. I mean, like, depending on how it rolls out, like I rolled some tickets over from last year's purchase. But I was actually just going to check this evening. I'm looking into getting like Green Sky at Red Rocks because that will be stellar. But I already have like Lake Street Dive tickets to Red Rocks. I've got Wilco tickets to Red Rocks rolled over from last year's. But I still don't kind of know how the whole deal is going to work.
Yeah, so for those that are listening and wondering what the plant dealio is, obviously we've seen things like the band Lotus has announced that they would do a 4-night run in Red Rocks early May, May something, maybe it's the week after next, maybe it's next weekend, maybe next weekend. Um, for Red Rocks. So right now it starts at 25%, 2,500 folks are about allowed in. But assuming that vaccinations continue to go up and we can find a way to get the cases to go down, which as of this minute, they are definitely on the uptick, then the objective is to allow more folks to get into these venues. One of the hiccups we're seeing is that some of the bigger name bands and things of that nature aren't trying to do a 25 or 30% occupancy when that doesn't even cover their travel costs or so to speak. So for them to tour out here, we're thinking of the bigger bands that aren't Western or Mountain West based. It costs a little bit of money to get all your gear, your crew, your team out here. That doesn't it doesn't tickle the pickle or pay for the bills if you only have 30% occupancy.
Dude, I can't imagine the headache that is like being like a touring manager or with a big band and like trying to figure this shit out. Like,
Well,
as you're saying, like venues are starting to open up, but you're like, we're only going to be this capacity. Like, I bet that is a fucking disaster.
yeah, and I think one of the episodes we had done right before we went into COVID lockdown was that episode when we sat down with the team, like Irwin and the guys over there that managed Leftover, and we were talking about the boogie at the Broadmoor. So I'm not only fired up about the Leftover show that will be coming in the few weeks, I think mid-May, early May. But like maybe we need to get those guys back on, talk about what the fucking strain is that's going on in their lives. That's got to be nightmare fuel. And then maybe let's reach out to the team over at Live for Live Music. See if those guys want to chat a little bit about what the year's been about. That's a good idea, Chris.
Yeah. But what's crazy though is like, I mean, I guess I really haven't looked into it, whether or not like Red Rocks has released anything, but like if you rolled over a ticket from the previous year, like how do they cap that at 2,500 or? I
And
don't know.
that's a game that I'm glad that we don't have to be the person that plays it. It reminds me of that episode of The Office when both Jim and Michael are trying to give raises and they use the baked beans to represent half a percentage. And then they find out, like somehow sneak into the office, the conference room and see who gets how many appropriate beans. That's what it kind of feels like. Someone out there is going to be fucking pissed off and you're just going to have to accept it.
Yeah. I think I've got the appropriate beans.
Yeah, well, keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully, maybe some of our friends in live music are listening and they can help us out,
Yeah.
push your requests through. But I mean, music doesn't necessarily just start with our Red Rock shows. It starts next week. 420. There's still the Civic Center concert that was obviously postponed last year. I think it's still fucking going on. I
Is
think,
it?
yeah, according to the Fly High 420 website, it's still going on. And so for the whole cannabis week, let's talk a little bit about, what the vibe will be like over the next couple of days. Like we mentioned, live music. There's concerts still going at Cervantes as well. This weekend is MJ versus Stevie. It's gonna be a little dance off with a bunch of funk musicians. It'll be a pretty righteous show for those that are trying to grab a little bit of the vibe because it definitely Cannabis Week starts this Friday. So if you're listening to this, it starts this week. So be sure that you're paying attention. There's shit going all over the place, and we're here to kind of give you a quick rundown, maybe 15 minutes, talk a little bit about it, and then we'll get out of your hair and let you go enjoy your weekend. So, Chris, I want to introduce the new segment. This is called If I Were a Stoner. And what we're going to do in this instance is if we were stoners, you could possibly find certain events or certain ideas or restaurants or foods that you may like, but every week it may be something different. This week, if I were a stoner, we're going to give you 3 things that we would want to do that's on the cannabis calendar for the following week. Does that make sense, Chris?
That does make sense.
All right. So I'll go. Do you want to go first or do you want me to lead by example?
I'll just throw it out there, man. I'll shoot from the cuff.
Is that what they say? Is that the saying?
Is that it? Is that how it goes?
Shoot from the hip?
Shoot from the hip.
I think that's what it means, which means like you would do it without. Okay. Anyways, you go ahead. What's your first one?
So actually, like doing some searching today, there's this Spliff Film Festival, which is going on April 16th through the 24th.
Okay.
Like a lot of events this year are going to be online.
Yeah.
Just due to the situation. But
What
anyway,
situation is that, Chris? The herpes outbreak?
a pandemic.
Yes. My bad.
Yeah, whatever. But anyways, so yeah, April 16th through the 24th, they're doing this online streaming. And I guess what it is, just, if you're listening, Google search Spliff Film Festival. Tickets come out to be about $25. They do like watch parties, but I guess it's like creatives from cannabis, arts, music, movie, and they come together and they create short films. So that might be something worth checking out. I don't know. Give it a good search.
I fucking like where your head's at. That's a great idea. That's a very good call. I like that one.
Yeah, and I guess like the whole thing is like, so with all the stuff, it comes out to $25, but you can do watch parties where you're obviously like watching it with other larger groups of people, probably smoking spliffs, just having a good time.
I like it. I like where that's a good first one across the bow. I like you shooting from the cuff.
Yeah. And my other one's for
Hold on. We're doing snake draft. You go one, I go one.
Okay, do it.
I don't want you stealing one of my ideas.
All right, go for it.
All right, my first one is one that I don't think everybody would expect. And it's the guy, Doug Benson, comedian, who did Super High Me. He is at Comedy Works downtown on 420. So let's say you do the big public free concert that's going to be COVID heavy. 7:00, Doug Benson, Comedy Works. Obviously, everybody knows the guy. He's the one that did the documentary or the mockumentary about all